I'm here in Richmond, Virginia, in front of our Capitol, and it's a beautiful sight. But it was modeled after an ancient Greek temple. It looks a lot like, I think, the temple in Jerusalem that Jesus was making his way towards. As he came into Jerusalem in his triumphal entry, people celebrated him coming. But now it's Monday, the day after his triumphal entry. Listen to what Mark records in chapter 11 and verse 18. When the leading priests and teachers of religious law heard what Jesus had done, they began planning how to kill him. But they were afraid of him because the people were so amazed at his teaching. What was Jesus doing on Monday that would cause such tension for the religious leaders? Well, Jesus was making his way to the temple, the place of worship, the place that should be a place of prayer. But what he found there was disturbing. There were money changers who were there to increase and hike the exchange rates to a ridiculous point of profit. Jesus walked into this scene where the temple had almost been overthrown to this point of profit and become a house of profit rather than a house of prayer. And Jesus, in this infamous exchange of power, where Jesus turns over the tables and fights for the right of the people who were coming from all over the area to celebrate the Passover. Jesus makes this statement that he says, "This is my Father's house, and it will be a house of prayer." Now, the religious leaders saw this as a huge threat, and so the tension began. In the last week of the life of Christ, I don't know what you would do if you heard on Monday that you would die on Friday, but Jesus went about his life with mission. He kept his ministry going at the same pace. In fact, it even increased. He would heal people every day. He would go to the temple and teach every day. He would retreat and pray just like he had every day before. And so we find Jesus in the midst of his last week of life, spending it in ways that I can only imagine. I think if I got the news today that it was my last day to live on Monday and Friday was going to be it, I don't know what I would do. What would you do? Would you spend it in some great party? Would you go get the friends or family members that you desire to see or hadn't seen in a long time? Would you maybe retreat to a quiet place or a favorite spot that you could spend some time in reflection over your life? How would you spend your last week on this earth? Well, Jesus spent it somewhat in a picture of how he would spend his last day, which was spending his life for a purpose that was even greater than any of us could ever imagine. In fact, we read in the Bible how Jesus came for one purpose, which was to save us all. God so loved the world that he gave his only Son, that whoever believes in him would not perish but have everlasting life. I don't know what you believe or what you follow, but let me ask you, do you have something in your life that's so purposeful, that drives you so much that you'd be willing to die for it? I don't know about you, but that's a compelling truth to consider. And regardless of where you're at today, I would ask you that you would join us as we journey through the last days of the life of Christ. I hope that you'll go with us each day and consider, what was it that drove Jesus? What mission was in his life that he was willing to die for? Perhaps even more importantly, you can discover a mission worth living for.